started writing Developing B2B Communities because we were getting such a great positive response outside of CA. We had several talks at some industry events like the E2.0 conference in Boston. And we really touched a nerve with the audience. So we heard a lot of information back from other companies who've been working in communities and faced some of the same challenges we did. And we realized that some of the questions they were asking us were things that we had to learn just through experience and trial and error, and thought it would be great if we had a manual step-by-step guide that really took people who were interested in creating this community for their company and their products and guided them through all of the options for what you can do with the community, for how the community will develop and mature, for what kind of KPIs and metrics you should be looking at, and how you should be engaging with executives in order to get funding, resources, and basically meet the business goals of your project with the communities aligning with the company goals. The audience we were primarily seeking were community managers who were just getting started, or executives who were looking at their customers and trying to figure out how they can engage their customers more, getting feedback around their products, collaborating with them online, developing richer partnerships with their customers and partners, and really taking that audience and giving them the tools that they would need to start to spin up these communities. And it was really about the fact that whether they had them already or were just looking to start to do it, these existed. If you have customers, you have a community, and they're going to be talking about your products either on something that you provide or on another avenue. So they could be talking about your products in LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter. And the idea here was this is a way for you to own that conversation. As we wrote the book, some of the ideas developed into some avenues that we hadn't foreseen. Certainly when we began delving into the sections around metrics and goals, we began to separate those two pieces that were originally together. Since we had developed those at the same time, it made sense, but to our editorial staff, and I think to the flow of the book, it made sense to really pull those things apart and look at them separately. We hope to influence our readers by really explaining them first and foremost that they have a community, whether they're engaged with them or not, but this community exists because it's really just part of human nature. And being able to influence our readers by taking that first realization and turning it into something that's powerful for their company, aligning to what their business goals are, and really helping them achieve a position where they're using that feedback to build better products, build better relationships, and build a better customer experience overall. The big message of developing B2B communities is that the community already exists. It's really a matter of you engaging with it. And it's not something you can ignore. It's not something you can invent. It has to exist, and it exists if you have products. It exists if you have customers. The evolution of technology and business has changed this message dramatically in the last couple of years. We used to have a situation where businesses really didn't know what their customers were thinking unless they went out and set up focus groups or surveys or had customer advisory boards. But with the invention of social media, the way that the internet has connected people, it's really flipped that on its head. And now you have a world where somebody can be tweeting about an experience they had negatively with a product and have audience of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people see it. So this has changed that relationship between very outbound messaging to something where you now have to be engaged in a dialogue, and that there's a conversation going on now between a company and its customers. And that really has been enabled only in the last 10 years in a very dramatic way. My advice to those who want to put a book together, write 3 times as much as you think you're going to need. We found through this experience that writing our sections was the easy part. Getting our thoughts down, organizing them, working with each other to collaborate and create a flow through the book. That was pretty straightforward and pretty simple compared to going through the editing process and really making sure that these were airtight arguments, that these were really powerful observations, that all of the evidence that you needed to collect was being signed off on, and you had approval for everything. So there was a lot that really goes into this after you've put all the words on the page. And it definitely helps if you have enough on the page to be able to tighten it up.